Alright guys, hey, always Sonic here bringing you something, well, I don't want to say different because this is a video, this time on the Gustav Karl, but what I'm doing different here is I'm specifically showing you the build. Now, I recorded this video and put it on YouTube on my other channel. As you see, the title of this thing does not freaking die. I have to get into it here because let me get off OBS and back into this. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Gustav Karl because well, the way I set this thing up is different to how I usually play literally everything else in the game. Being that I usually go for damage and mobility. So, you know, as high as boost as I can get, as high damage as I can get, with filler being basically health or maybe resistance or something along those lines. But the Gustav Karl I feel is a little bit different. Just because its defensive stats are just so much better than almost anything else in the game that I think it's almost worth it. Now I think the niche the developers were trying to get with this thing is quote unquote tank. You know, like I don't know, an MMORPG tank, or maybe a better idea is in the context of Overwatch, how you have, Reinhardt and stuff. The thing about a tank is, I think from what I remember, if I'm remembering this correctly, a tank needs to be able to do two things: take a lot of damage and control a lot of space. We'll get on to the second one, but taking a lot of damage is exactly what the Gustav Karl does. No. As you see here, what is this? Level 4 melee, level 3 melee, level 2 melee? The weakest stat on this thing is its melee resistance. Getting that up to at least an appropriate level is especially important because this thing is absolutely 100% hard countered by the rebound. Just hard countered by the rebound. I'm going to keep it real with you. This thing is bopped by it. And of course, level 2 beam, it honestly doesn't need all that much. It's almost maxed to begin with. Level 2 is perfectly fine. Ballistic, nothing really uses ballistic up here, so again, perfectly fine. You don't really need to touch it, and it's already kind of high to begin with. And 1400 for reasons. Now, I've been thinking, like, is it better to go HP, or is it better to go defense if you just have, like, a little bit of, just, like, a little bit, You have just, like, 2 slots left. You either dump into HP or dump it into, your defenses, your resistances. Honestly, I'm still not really sure on that. But in this case, I kind of went for a mix of both. I would have had a lot more, but again, I wanted to get these stats up. But, okay. So the two different, I guess, aspects of it. Taking damage. We got that covered. This, as you will say, this thing can take a lot of damage, and it's essentially taking half damage from everything that's fighting it, right? It's taking 50% damage from everything that's fighting it. And because certainly a lot of American players, I'm not sure how the Japanese do it, but I know for a fact a lot of American players tend to run a lot of bulk on their stuff. So at least from American players, you won't be taking that much damage to begin with. And as for controlling space, as I say again and again, Gundam Battle Operation 2 is a game built around crowd control and stun. And where we're talking about crowd control and stun, Gustav Karl is not lacking at all. It's got a bazooka, it's got a beam rifle. I'm not sure if this is build stun, so you stun if you hit both, but hey, that's there too. And you have a Sturmfaust, so you have bare minimum 3 insta stun options. Now, the Sturmfaust might take a few seconds to actually ready up, unlike these guys, but still, it's there. And also has, so you can Vulcan charge you. It has a little bit of chip damage if you just you have bazooka, you can't go into melee. Hit him with this guy. So it has ways of doing it, but it's not immune to stun itself, right? But I guess let's get to the video. We'll talk a bit more about it. But this is kind of the build that I run with this thing, and this is kind of the only mobile suit in the game that I run so much bulk on. This is kind of my first time taking it out, so you'll see how it goes. And again, this is on YouTube, so I can fast forward.
Very well. Proceeding to the battlefield. Catapult deck is open. Mobile suit team, move out.
So the Gustav Karl's big weakness. The big weakness is that it does not have a dodge roll. But it does have, what is it? Let me see what the skill is particularly, because I think it'll put it up here. And again, that's kind of loud. Let me turn it down a little bit. I think it'll tell me here. Yes, active guard. Active guard will, so you'll put the shield up, you'll be immune to stun, but you also won't be capable of moving. I don't like the skill because it's like armor lock in. You deal with it the same way as you do in Halo Reach, right? You deal with it the same way you do armor lock in Halo Reach. In that, the best way to handle someone using armor lock is to just wait. Eventually, the shield will come down. If you're just patient, nothing bad's gonna happen. Because you can't tackle out of that, right? You can absolutely just tackle out of that and just counter somebody, even if they attack from behind you. What this means in the Gustav Karl's case is that, let's say something has, I don't know, multiple melee weapons, like the Rebound, multiple stun options, like the Rebound. If you get stunned, you're going to be hurting considerably from the Rebound's melee attacks because you can't dodge roll out of it. So he can combo you. So he can essentially combo you for as long as he has boost, and you can run a lot of boost on the Rebound. And of course, the Gustav Karl has pretty poor melee defense default, which is why I run so much of it. So when you're fighting a Rebo, which is honestly the biggest thing you have to worry about, stay away. Stay as far away from it as you can while still being able to do damage. Switch to your beam rifle, poke, switch to your beam rifle, switch to your wrist grenade, poke, prod, save your bazookas for if it tries getting closer. That's dangerous for me, so I just back up out of there. Yep, that's exactly what you do. That is exactly what you do. I think he gets tackled too. Yep. You deal with it exactly the same way. Is that also massive damage reduction too of active guard. And thing is, I'm not entirely sure how active guard works. I know that you can't move and use it at the same time, which is why I don't like it. That just means you're going to get surrounded. You're just kind of delaying the inevitable. I mean, I've never liked this skill. I don't think it's a good skill. I don't like it. Well, when it comes to controlling space, I'm honestly just not really doing a lot of it here. I don't think I've died yet. I think that's mostly because nothing's really made an attempt to hit me. I'm just kind of doing what generals do, which is stun, downswing, downswing. Not doing really anything that you wouldn't do in any other suit. But I do think that's what they were going to go for. I think the idea is that you kind of lead the charge, use your active guard to block stun for your team while you open them up to do stuff, but that's not really how it goes. That's not really how it works. It's going after number 5. See, he missed. Oh, that's just a Delta gun. I'm not even worried about that. I'm not even worried about a Delta gun. But something Gustav Karl does have is it does have maneuver armor. I think it's maneuver armor level 1. So it's not unstunnable in the boost, but it is incredibly difficult to stun in a boost. Very, very, very nice to have. So when you're fighting something like the Rebo, boost away, stay away from it. All that good stuff. I think I was trying to get him to dodge roll, but the guy behind me managed to stun him instead. Bitch. Again, I don't think this. Looking back at the gameplay, I don't think this thing necessarily works as a tank. It's just extremely hard to kill. Because every attack you do is going to be doing almost half damage. And if you aren't running much attack investment, then well, there you go. That being said, Gustavs are incredibly dangerous to fight because... Okay, so if we consider Gundam Battle Operation 2 as a game of trades, right, so... Or a game with turns, right? Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or something along those lines. It might take him, let's say, 3 turns to kill you, but it's going to take you 5 or 6 to kill him back. So you need to be able to steal multiple turns off of him. Thankfully, he doesn't have a dodge roll, so it's not as hard as it would otherwise be. But losing that interaction as Gustav Karl also isn't a big deal. Certainly the way I have it set up is that goddamn sure.
is a winning strategy.
So how are you supposed
Requesting
to play?
to
How are you?
sortie.
Who are you supposed to prioritize? How are you supposed to really do it?
Beacon captured.
I'm not really. I'm not. I mean, I do pretty well here, but to be honest, I'm not really entirely sure. Just
Minor
like this,
ally
like
is
my
required
style
to
is
be evac.
usually hit and run kind of suit. Yeah, I couldn't do anything there, so I'm begging for support. I'm probably not gonna get it. I've already lost half my health. How long did it take me to lose
An
half my
ally
health
unit has been
last life?
destroyed.
Yeah, this thing's melee defense is not great. Yep, can't
Supporting
stun him in the
fire.
boost.
Taking significant damage. Be careful.
He can't stun me in the boost either, so it's fine.
Danger. Evacuate the area.
Trying to call for backup here.
Ally is
No such
requested.
luck.
Long range supporting fire incoming. Firing has ceased. Supporting fire dealt damage. Now's your chance.
We somehow lost 2 team fights in a row. Important hit to get. Important
2
hit to
minutes
get.
left in the mission.
Getting Delta Gundam as low as possible. Any damage on Delta Gundam is good damage. Yeah, I used the active guard there trying to... It wasn't going to save me. And I'm completely surrounded and low on health. All it does is buy time. That wouldn't have helped me.
An allied unit has been destroyed. Supporting fire incoming. Evacuate the
Well, the
target
way
area.
this video is a bit rambly, but I'm just trying to figure out how you're supposed to play it. I think the idea is you're the
Long range
first one
supporting
into
fire
battle,
incoming.
you know?
Firing
And
has
then
ceased. Supporting fire
if you
dealt
get
damage.
stunned,
Now's your chance.
your teammates ideally cover you from there. I just don't think I think what they were going for was a tank, but this thing doesn't
Beacon captured.
play fundamentally
Requesting to
differently
sortie.
from any other, generally any other raid, I would say.
A bomb has been planted in our base. The enemy has secured a beacon.
One thing about it
Fire
is it's
sale.
very forgiving.
Ready for
You can make a
ally
lot of
units
mistakes,
ready.
not be punished
Mobile
for
suit
it, or at least not be punished too much. Like,
1 minute
but I
left in
got
the
heavy
mission.
staggered and down swung, and I got
An allied
plenty of
unit
health.
has been destroyed. Ally
You know,
has
we
destroyed the
Gucci.
enemy mobile
We
suit.
are good.
Enemy mobile suit is down. Taking significant damage.
Even
Be
there only
careful.
took like 2,000 damage, which is still a bit, but
Enemy mobile suit is down.
I and maybe I'm overcomplicating it. Maybe this isn't so much a tank; it's just
Ally
a
has
fat
destroyed
general,
enemy mobile suit.
right? Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's just a fat general. Maybe that's how you're supposed to play it. You don't play it fundamentally differently from
Our base
any
has been
other.
destroyed.
It's not a different class like Reinhardt is from Tracer or Soldier. It's just
An
a
allied
fat
unit has
general.
been destroyed. Time has run out.
And that gets it really far in a game like this. If you can kill something in 3 turns, but it takes him 4 or 5, that's a good place to be in. Even if you make nothing but mistakes, that's 2 or 3 kills under your belt. That. Look at that. Look at that score. Look at that. Look, okay, I need to pause here. Look at that. 138,000 damage, and I was targeted 27% of the time. I think this counts specifically when you're being looked at when you're on screen for the enemy. And I still only died twice out of that. I still didn't take all that much. Certainly in the first life, I didn't take all that much damage. But I still, only died, twice? Got plenty of assists, plenty of damage. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah, only died twice despite being looked at. How are you on screen 30% of the time and you only die twice? I took up almost a third of basically all the battles that my team was in. Almost a third. Well, maybe it's actually closer to a quarter. Well, it's closer to a quarter than it is to a third, so let's use a quarter. Yeah, this thing is bats, but I'd say because it's so weak against the Rebel, which is the best general. Well, it's the best general in the game, but it's definitely the best general at 650. Yeah, it's definitely the best general at 650. Maybe the Delta Kai is a close second, but it's definitely the best general at 650. This thing bops you like you lose that fight. Sorry, 1-on-1 you lose that fight. You got to stay away. You got to be around your teammates when you fight. So you can't use it as a hit and run suit, which is generally my play style. You can't really do that. That doesn't really work because if you're caught out by this thing, you die. You ever caught out by another Gustav, Karl, and he gets the first stun on you? Generally, I mean, I guess you'll be fine, but again, you'll have to take 2 turns away from a Gustav Karl, and that is hard. That is kind of hard. But hopefully you have some idea. I'm just trying to summarize my thoughts here, but a fat general, you're a brawler, right? You go in there face to face, and you close as you can, and you punch them in the nose. And then when you see Rebo, you run away like a little girl. But you go in there, you duke it out like a man, like a big barrel-chested Russian. That's what you do. And that is not that in any way my playstyle. Oh, that made it work. Hopefully that was useful for y'all. Remember to like, subscribe, do all that shenanigans. I'll see you later.